Hi, welcome to DevSecOps with Paulina.
Andre.
Matthias. Damn it.
Uh,
We have done it so good so many times. Yeah, okay. And this is part 3 of the incident response. Like, what do you call it? Like episodes or like.
Series.
Yeah, series. That's a good name. But in episode 2, did we talk about then?
What do you do during the incident? And
During
what
the
shouldn't you
incident.
do during the incident?
Yeah, what should you do? So this should then be the post-mortem, right?
right. So, if you still have a job,
Yeah.
what do you do?
When does the post-incident period starts? That's
Yeah.
a good question to ask first.
Exactly.
I never considered that question. Paulina, can you explain what you mean?
Yeah.
So I occurred that incidents that people started doing post-mortem in the middle of solving the incident. So I think the question is answered when the incident is over, when the post-mortem can happen.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, sometimes just when the site is back up, right, production is up, you're like, oh, it's over. But I will just give it a couple of hours, like 2 days maybe, like take it easy with writing any incident response and do anything. I mean, if something happened in production, you want to monitor maybe a little bit to verify that things are back stable. If it was a rough incident, you maybe want to calm down a little bit and do some thinking, look at tools, like going back what happened. But
Want to have people sleeping in, and maybe coming with a clear head.
Get some rest.
Yeah.
Get a fresh brain and perspective.
So what I try to say is like give it at least 24 hours after you think the incident is done before you start any like post-mortem work, right? I don't know what I got the time from, but it's just like I common hour I come up with, like give it at least like a day to
Sounds
think about it. Yeah. And then you can start the after work. But what is included then? What do you do in the after work?
And what you don't do. Let's start with what you don't do.
Yeah, what you don't do.
I think we should all blame each other, yeah? As a first thing.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. No, I didn't do that. My thing was great. It wasn't me. It was the developer, right?
Yeah, that's what people say.
Yeah.
So I guess what we're trying to say here is that we should definitely avoid blaming people.
Yes.
There are human mistakes, but they quite often made because of the systems and the processes around it. So the human error is manifestation of the problem within the process, and one needs to go and look. I mean, it's quite hard to do something about human error as well. Like the person made a mistake, happened. But what you do not to do it again. I mean, of course, like one would fire the person, and then that particular person will not repeat that mistake again for sure in that company. But it doesn't stop other people doing the same mistake. So that's kind of a wrong way to go. You need to look into the processes and why it happens.
Yes.
But you also want to look into good things which happened during the incident. So you also want to document what went well and what you should keep. Not only stuff which should get changed.
It's like, what do you call it? Like you do, what's the name when you do like code and then you go back and see what went well during the
opportunity for improvements.
Yeah, interface, like what went well, what went bad, what can be improved, like those type of things during the incident to get out, find
so you
the things that you can improve.
Like, you probably would want to have a template for your postmortems.
Yeah.
So like they're similar to one another, and you can search through them later on. So like one of the things that you probably would want to have there is a section where you have an executive summary, right? Like what actually happened, what was the business impact.
Yes.
Then you want to have a timeline and this is like watch our previous episode or this in our previous episode. This is where all those things like Slack channel, dedicated Slack channel, people documenting stuff, like the people communicating and so on. This is where it like recording what's going on. This is where it all comes very handy. Science, it will help you to reconstruct the timeline, and you would be very surprised to find out that you actually might have one picture of the incident, but when you start to reconstruct the timeline, it might turn out that you had a wrong picture. There were like other things that you was not aware of. So that's definitely a very useful exercise to go through. Reconstruction of the timeline, documenting it, what happened when.
Yeah.
Oh, is it when 5 whys come?
Yeah, that might be one of the frameworks. There are many frameworks, but basically when you're looking for the problem, and so quite often what you will have on the surface, right, you would have something that directly caused the outage.
Yeah.
But what caused that thing that caused the outage? So this is where like 5 whys come in. So you want to ask 5 times why this happened and why that happened, and you're going deeper each time, like with each question, and then eventually you can actually might be able to uncover something that looks on the first glance completely unrelated to the incident, but it's actually causing the problem in the team.
Yeah.
To give you an example, was maybe not the best one, but still like on the radio, like it was like a Swedish radio. There were like the people in Uppsala having the wrong diagnosis, like during the 2024, I think, and they went to the procedures they need to go through. So they did this kind of post-mortem trying to understand what's going on and so on and so on. So they came to conclusion that the department was understaffed.
Yeah,
so people
exactly.
were working under a lot of stress, and that caused the mistakes and the judgment. And this is like only 2 levels down. So you could actually might then go the third level down to see like why are they understaffed?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
there's maybe lack of budget. Like why there is a lack of budget? And like you keep digging, and you eventually end up to something that might uncover the problem you really need to work on.
And that's like brilliant. You get to the source of the problem, right? Not just like the web service crashed and okay, they're up now. I restarted the pod, things are working. Like, okay, why did it crash?
Yes.
And then like, okay, it was because of that, and then you go down to get to the bottom of the problem, and then going back to what we always said before, like this process is meant to pick out what we can learn from the incident and improve, right? To be more resilient, to be more secure, right? And getting that data is the core of this exercise, more or less.
And it's like if we go a little bit off the script here, you might be in a company where there is no culture of doing postmortems whatsoever.
Yeah.
It still doesn't mean that you can do one. And by that, I mean the way you communicate. So you as a person being doing something will make mistakes. For instance, you did a mistake that caused some kind of outage. It happens all the time. Then how do you communicate about it, right? So you could say, I'm sorry I did that, so it's now fixed. But you could say, I'm sorry I did that, it's fixed, it's not hurting any longer, but I also gonna do this, and that to make sure that it's not happening again. And then on your personal level, the way you communicate makes you much more valuable in a team, and you're also setting a good example of the good behavior. Because then, like when you behave this way over time, the number of incidents actually decreasing. So you have more time to do the more focused work.
You want to be proactive about your approach towards the incident and how you handle also after the incident. And if you do it enough of times, sometimes even if you can do it not only with incident, but with a process or something, you can notice that over a very short period of time, suddenly a lot of stuff can be improved in a quite easy manner.
And I mean, it's not that hard to set up. It's like we have an incident and then take some time after the incident to look it over and start improving things. I think this is the difference between companies that just like, oh, it was done, I restart a server, things will go back to normal, and then you go on your daily work, and then it crashes again, and you start the server. If you have that, and that's the typical behavior of companies that don't have the incident response plan in place or not learning, right? You're just going to fix the error, and then they go back, and the same error coming back over and over again. If you have the flow that we are talking about here with the postmortem and the 5 why, you will get to know why the server crashing, fixing the problems so not crashing again, and then continue working. This is how you build a resilient system.
One thing to mention here is I think it's very important that you allocate the time. You as a leader of the team or the division or whatever the unit you have, you need to allocate the time and let people work on those improvements, because doing the post-mortem is cool and dandy, but if you don't do
take
the work to
if you don't
improve,
take any actions, then you're lost, and it's pretty much it's gonna happen again very soon without that.
yeah. And I think that would be also quite damaging for the morale in the team. Like, I mean, people do all the work analyzing, and then they don't not giving a chance to improve. So it's not very good.
I think it's also given if you don't improve things and let things like incident happens and just they fix the small incident, then you like telling that that's the normal behavior of the system, right? It's okay that things crash, we just fix them. And maybe it is in your company, but for us that we are working, it's not okay. Things needs to be up and we need to improve them. And then if something crashes, you need to find out why, you need to improve things, and like fixing things to make them better is the way you're working, more or less.
Yeah, so one thing you can do here, so if the time is tight, do at least something, like do the stuff that will give you 80% for the 80% of the benefit for the 20% of time you spend. Do those straight away. Spend the day. I mean, you can find the day. It's not a problem usually. The rest, document them as the tickets in the backlog, at least. So then eventually team will be able to pick it up from the backlog. So if you need to go and like keep doing what you've been doing, like maybe you're on a tight deadline to deliver something, document that as a backlog item. Come back to that later.
Yeah.
And also you can look into if you can automate certain stuff to be able to get a self-healing system, for example. So that some stuff system can be healed automatically next time if you can see that the error might occur again, even if you deal with the cause of it. And also actions needs owners. So actions without owners pretty much get lost and go to the trash.
Yeah. And
I like
this
that.
where come back to like after incident you can create run books and playbooks like, okay, I did this to fix the database, this is the restore, and like the database was down, this is how I fixed it. That becomes a run book, then can add in the beginning of the queue, right, to improve. And that's how you learn. So of course a lot of the task becomes run books and playbooks. It can also be things that you did during the incident, like, oh, but you did that was really good. You looked up that DNS server and looked from that IP. Okay, that's also something that was good during incident. Let's make a run book or a task from that, so we know that next time an incident happens, we can run this run book to check the DNS to see what IP it belongs to and other things. So also not only improve like the system resilience or the system, but also improve your tool stack to resolve incident looking forward.
Right.
So document what you have done, but also do the knowledge sharing across the team. Even, I don't know, send out the link to the document and people can read it in the free time. Or if you have bi-weekly demo or knowledge sharing, maybe it's something to put 5 minutes or 10 minutes of attention in. So people know what happened and what you can do in this case or what caused it.
I think you can go even further with that. So if you have that summary, remember during the last episode discussed having people who communicate externally. So you can share that summary with those people whose job is to communicate externally. They can turn your detailed summary into less detailed, summary of the incident, and they can share it externally with your clients, customers, what have you, integration partners. And this is how you build trust. So remember, I mentioned how you communicate on a personal level, saying, there was a problem, I fixed that, this is what I did, so it doesn't happen again. And you can, like, when you work in a infrastructure team, quite often people report to you issues. So you might have an incident, and you can also communicate as response to those issue reports the same way, saying like, okay, I see you have this problem, we fixed it now, this is what we did, not to have it again. This is how you build the trust within the team, but you can do this exactly the same thing to build it outside for your company. If you follow up on what you did, you share it, and then the clients see like, yeah, you did a mistake, but you learned from it, you're improving, and they will put more trust into your company comparing to the company who's just, screwing up and doing nothing about it.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to show you do mistakes, but you know how to deal with them and how to learn out of them.
Exactly.
That shows you maturity, like as a person, as a company, that you can accept your mistake, you can acknowledge your mistake, and you can work to resolve it and improve. So this is like the signs of maturity we are looking in people and in companies.
Yes. It's also that you need, maybe, depending on what kind of compliance you're into, you might want to have to report your incident if it was big to different vendors or other. And I mean, if you're, for example, doing PCI DSS and you lost card numbers, then you might want to have like a forensic team coming over and have a look at what happened. That can also be interesting. But during the incident,
there was a couple of cases where there were like security breaches, and then the authorities would come in saying like, well, SolarWinds. I think SolarWinds was like something that comes to mind. So they were investigated by authorities, and they were mandated to do this, and that, and then report on a regular basis for a couple of years. You don't want to be under that scrutiny.
No. They do. So but if you're under one of those compliant that you have external, like card numbers, and maybe NIST is coming, DORA and other things as well are coming, you need to be able to know who you're going to report and what they will come and ask for. And I think that the things that we have talked about here is a good base. Like you have the incident plan, you have the like collecting data as we talked about, screenshot or logs and things like that. Make sure that you have that in place if you're under a big compliance load, right?
Right. Is there anything else we forgot to mention?
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, we probably not there always things, but
basic stuff which you should pay attention to.
So, Paulina, tell me about an incident that happened to you and how you resolved it. No, you can't tell me.
NDAs.
NDAs. I don't have NDAs. I had an incident with. There was actually a salesperson reporting that there was a slow production web page, right? We looked into it, and I started looking at the API and did see that, okay, the API is going really slow here, right? So the front page was talking to GraphQL, and GraphQL was talking to the API, and the API was slow. I should also mention, I think I forgot about it, but when I do troubleshooting of incident, I try to start external and then going deeper into the system. So I start with the web and then going lower and lower. But I did see that the database was like queuing up connections, right?
It's always database.
It's always database, and what is it usually then when database is queuing up connections?
You have a high load on the database. So all the storage is.
I have a query that is running, taking a long time. Okay, this is of course the issue, right? When you have a database query that's long, you don't know where it is, right? You don't want to kill it because you don't know exactly how long and what it's been doing, right? But it's like locking up all the other connections. Like, so everything is locked until this connection like let go. This is also a problem. The first thing we were asking, like, okay, has anybody done anything, right? So after like 15 minutes, the developer come back like, yeah, I did run an update table on the production database, but it shouldn't affect production. Yeah, it kind of did, right? Yeah. So we had this issue, right? Okay, how should we resolve this? And then we come up with the idea. Okay, let's just stop the traffic, right? We stop the traffic to the API, so we can let it rest. The query continue, then we add like data again. So we stop it. Now the server was responding 404 because that's, I think, it's the default with Kubernetes cluster, right? We had the query completed. The database come back up, we enable traffic, and we had production going live again. And we kind of were happy with incident. The problem was that we had displayed 404 to Google. So if you had like a page when you're viewing something, and then if Google goes there and it receives a 404, that page is gone now, right? Yeah, so it's a long incident. It's I think I tell it many times. It's one of those things that can happen. Someone does something in production, maybe just trying to fix something else that has a big impact. You try to fix it, but you also break other things in the process of trying to fix the real incident, and then you have to deal with it for a long time. Okay, you look shocked.
That was a good example of how to deal with an incident.
Are there any insights from the postmortem? Have you done a postmortem?
At this company, we didn't do that. I think it's separate.
Yeah.
No, we just looked at the developer and like, maybe it's not a good idea to do SQL queries to production by yourself. Maybe you should check it with someone. I think that was the postmortem that happened. But also what we talked about here is like, I think it's called like systematic security work, like when you're like systematically always like trying to improve your security, right? Incident happens, you look them over, you learn, and you improve, right? This is the flow of improving.
It's the same for operations and security, pretty much the same approach.
Yeah. So I think with that, I don't have any more to add.
Alrighty, so then we keep it short, I guess.
Keep it short. Okay.
So that was the last part of free episode series of incident handling, what to do before, during, and after. So check also 2 first parts of
any teasers for what to come? Do we have any ideas of any episodes that we're about to record? Something for people to look forward?
Chaos engineering.
All right.
Yeah, nice.
This would be interesting.
Some incident, hacker incident breakdowns.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
That sounds good.
I think we will stop here. Thanks for tuning in.
Till next time.
You have been listened to DevSecOps Talks with Matthias, Andre, and Paulina. For notes and information, please visit devsecops.fm. Thanks for tuning in.